here on your Colour of Country Life, Flow FM. Time to go to the Hume Netball side of things in the Riverina, where we are about to have the season open with a new correspondent on the Flow FM airwaves across 2024. And it is Aimee Riley who joins me to talk all about Hume Netball, the lay of the land, the changes that we've seen in the off-season, and plenty more. Our brand new correspondent who replaces Carla Fletcher. Aimee, a big welcome to you here on Flow FM. Lovely to have you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Alice. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, and really looking forward to covering Hume Netball with you across this winter season. A lot to look forward to, and a fairly different look to Hume Netball as far as the A-grade side of things go, at least in 2024. So why don't we start there? Just give us a general update on some player movements and indeed some coaching movements. Certainly some big noise made out of Osborne in that regard. So tell us, how is the A-grade side of things looking right now going into the new season? Lots of changes.
Certainly has been lots of changes. There's 8 clubs across the Hume that have had 4 or more departures from their A-grade side, and 2 complete team departures and a few that were very close to losing their full team. So certainly a lot of movement across our league that we haven't seen for quite a while. There's been a couple switches across clubs as well, which is something that we don't see as much, but there has been a few of those this year, alongside quite a few girls going into the O&M and several O&M names coming out. So it's really exciting for our league.
I don't doubt that. Well, one observation I've made over the last couple of years, I absolutely love covering Hume Netball because it's so unpredictable sometimes. But the one thing I've found that top 2, really hard to break that chain for some of the other sides. You get some dark horses in and around the top 2, Osborne and Gindera, but often you don't get that top 2 changing. I'm sure many people will be wondering whether this is the year where that comes about finally. Osborne, could they get complacent? Gindera, we know, probably didn't quite hit the mark enough times last year. Do you feel as though we might get one of those 3rd to 7ths who are typically finishing in those spots breaking the chain this year or not?
Yeah, certainly. So I would expect, and I think a lot of people would expect as well, that there will be a few dark horses this year with so many changes going on. Osborne notably have lost Sally Hunter, Louise Madden and Cypress Clay, as well as Gabby O'Connell, who have been mainstays in their team and were certainly an integral part of their premiership side. And then alongside that, Howlong, who also featured in the grand final, have lost Sam Wade, Jess Lane and Chloe Senior, who, again, were really strong players for them. So it'll be really interesting to see how both of those teams adjust. And then when we look across the board, we've lost some really, really big names like Shana Holland and Taylor Vogel from Gindera having a year off. And then you've also got Millie Flanagan or Millie Ferguson from the BB Crows, who's having a year off. Rachel Kaszitsky at BB Saints, who's been around their club for a long time. Mim Dunstan from BB Saints has also gone into the O&M alongside Sophie O'Connor. We saw Tamia Richardson, Kath Wood and Rosie Dye alongside Chloe Gilchrist from CDHBU depart, which is a huge hole in their team, and they've done a really great job recruiting to fill up their A grade again. And then a team like Culcairn, who have unfortunately lost all of their 2023 team, including Liv Brunner and Claudia Grogan. And Liv, as we know, was actually our rising star for this year for the Hume League. So she's a big loss for them. And then when you look at a team like Murray Magpies, they also lost all of their team, so they're starting fresh again. And then you've got a few in between, such as Lockhart, who haven't had any losses and have had quite a few handy little pickups. Henty have lost a couple in Erin Hogan and Jess Kane, but they've certainly picked up some really handy players, such as Brigitte Singy, who's also stepped into coaching. And then you've just got Holbrook, who, for me, are a dark horse alongside Giants. And Holbrook have lost Jodie Ross-Smith and Britt Deegan, so they've minimised those, but they've picked up Ness Taylor and Maddie Black. Ness Taylor returns. Maddie Black is coming up from juniors, who will be a really handy player for them. And then Giants have lost Mel McClellan, Ebony Williams and Steph Knock, who have all departed the club for different reasons, but they've actually had Erin Hogan come in from Henty, and they've had Courtney Emerson come in from Mo Magpies, and Katie Kelleher return alongside Izzy Kreutzberger, who, as we all know, took out the B grade best and fairest last year and she will be a really handy player coming up into Giants A grade. So there's been a lot of movement, a lot of really exciting changes happening, and we probably start the season with a bit of an unknown across the board. So it'll be great.
Comprehensive update there from Aimee Riley. Just wondering, Aimee, can we go back to some of those sides you mentioned there, Culcairn definitely being one of them. What's been with the complete sort of massacre of the first grade sides there? How's that come about? Do we know?
Certainly there's been a lot of discussion around the league and a lot of movement, so it is hard to keep track of it, and I don't think you can pinpoint any one reason on why an entire A-grade side leaves. It does just happen sometimes. People have their own lives going on and things that they need to go off and do, but Culcairn's done some really great recruiting as well, and they've got Talia Hariuka, who's come over from BB Saints for them, so I have no doubt that they'll be putting forward a strong team for the season.
Can't be easy having your entire team be decimated like that. We'll certainly watch with a lot of intrigue as to how those sides get on. Well, that brings us to discussing the opening round fixtures, Aimee. So I believe you've got some teasers lined up for us as to how you see certain games going. Why don't you take the floor and give us your take on how this weekend's going to pan out?
Yeah, certainly. So Gindra versus Holbrook is our first game of the round, and Gindra's team for the season, they've lost 3 or 4 players as well. However, they have returning Sarah Kraus, who is a former A-grade league best and fairest. Maggie Thompson and Millie Ferguson have come out from Lavy Panthers. Paige Harper from Albury. Emma Wellington, who played in our league and played at North Albury, and Kira, as well as Jamie Dove, who's come over from North Albury, and Kira from Murray Magpies. So Gindra versus Holbrook, I think Holbrook have minimised their losses in comparison to everyone else, and Gindra have got a lot of star power that is in their team. So it'll be a really interesting battle between those two, but I think ultimately Gindra might tip them. And then moving on to Osborne versus Howlong, which is a grand final rematch. Very exciting. As we mentioned, a few changes in both of those teams. I have tipped Howlong because I think that they have probably maintained a bit more of their consistency from last year, and Osborne might hit the ground running, or might hit the ground running. But my tip for that game is Howlong. I think they've minimised their losses and might pip Osborne in that. The next game is Lockhart and Billabong Crows. Lockhart actually have no losses from their A grade for the 2023 season, so they've built on that quite nicely. Billabong Crows have some really good ins in Ricky Robb, who's coming back and has been a mainstay at their club, Lauren Packer and Kirby Hillier. So I've tipped Billabong Crows. I think they might get over Lockhart. Henty versus Magpies. Henty have recruited Brigitte Singy, which is a massive in for them. She's coming out from the O&M and she's their A-grade coach. I do think Henty will pip Magpies. Magpies obviously having a brand new team from what they had in 2023. Henty just might have a bit more consistency. BB Saints versus CDHBU. I've gone with BB Saints. I think that the girls might just get over the top of CDHBU, who again, big changes, might take a few rounds to get settled. And then Giants versus Culcairn, I've gone Giants.
As easy as that. Well, before we let you go, I'd love to get the point of view of some player psychology, Aimee, and going into round one, what are the sort of, you're a player yourself, what are the sort of mental processes that you go through, and what kind of emotional sort of energy do you get? Is it similar to going into the first round of finals, or is it a completely different feeling?
I wouldn't want to speak for every single player, Ellis, but certainly for me, the first round of each season is generally about as nervy as your first final game. I often think that everyone has a game day preparation, whether they know it or not. Everyone has their game day habits, and they certainly help. But look, most of the girls are just excited to get back on the court. It's a really exciting time of year, and given that we have so many unknowns, I think it's going to be a fantastic season.
And are you one of the superstitious types? Do you sort of put the socks on before anything else? Are you one of those operators, or do you not quite think about things that deeply?
I used to be a 2 hot dogs before I played, but unfortunately my body has moved past that stage of life. So now I'm a specific pair of socks, and I'm sock shoe.
Okay, interesting. There we go. Good to have some fun at the end there. Aimee Riley, lovely to catch up with you, our new correspondent, corresponding with us with regards to the Hume Netball A grade and beyond this year in netball in the Riverina. Aimee, really great to have you for your debut here on the airwaves, and good luck with everything this weekend. Enjoy the netball, and we'll speak to you again next week.
Thanks so much, Alice. Look forward to catching up.